I want to tell you a little bit about the Heritage Award first, and then we have the great honor of listening to Ambassador Earle later on. In the fall of 1984, the Executive Committee of the Deerfield Academy Alumni Association established the Heritage Award. It is presented annually to a Deerfield alum or alumna whose professional and personal achievements represent a special contribution to the betterment of society. In short, someone whose life exemplifies the Academy's motto, be worthy of your heritage. Nominations for this award are reviewed by a committee of students and faculty who submit their 3 finalists to the Executive Committee, who then makes the conclusive decision. In doing so, the Executive Committee also has a strong ulterior purpose: to introduce you, the student body, to the remarkable scope and extent of the endeavors and attainments of its alumni. During the short period since the inception of this award, we have honored, among others, one of America's most highly regarded poets, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, a U.S. Senator, the head of the National Geographic Society, the pioneer of laser surgery, a legislator, a politician, a public servant, a former Secretary of the Air Force, the founder of Centering Prayer, the creator of Muppet Babies, and an individual who uses puppetry for educational purposes. And now, today, to our distinguished guest, Ambassador Ralph Earle, class of 1946. We will hear about him in a few minutes. The hope is that this experience will inspire you, our students, to the possibility of a life dedicated to public service, education, science, or the arts. I would now like to invite Elizabeth and Thomas, Ambassador Earle's grandchildren, to say a few words about him.
Ever since I can remember, I knew I wanted to come to Deerfield. My family is steeped in Deerfield tradition and memory, and the one to start it all was my grandfather, who arrived on the Deerfield campus in the fall of 1943. He was followed by his 2 sons, including my father. My grandfather has always been a quiet but steady source of support during my time at DA. For a man who has lived overseas, worked for multiple presidents, and comes up in almost 40,000 hits on Google, it is striking how Deerfield has clearly shaped my grandfather's life. I can remember countless stories about how Deerfield used to be, with its all-school Sunday night sings, heritage days during which students actually went out to help the community, and the infamous Frank Boyden. More recently, my grandfather encouraged me to apply and then attend the academy, came to my 3rd soccer game on show day, and has constantly encouraged me to make the most out of my 4 years on campus.
At Deerfield, we often look to the past and look back at our heritage. My grandfather is a very essential part of my family's Deerfield heritage. He influenced his sons, as well as my sister and myself, to come to Deerfield. It is very hard for me to think about my grandfather, a man who I've known all my life, as a man who's helped change the world. But as hard as it to believe, it is true. My grandfather helped shape the politics of his generation and helped make changes that affect our lives today. Although I still like to think of him as just my grandfather, I know he's a man who's helped shape the world. I know that Deerfield's helped him bring him to where he is today, and I hope he can do the same for me. Now, Dr. Curtis.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Thomas. Ambassador Earle, your distinguished career has been focused on the national security of the United States, and particularly on decreasing the risk from nuclear weapons. You have been recognized worldwide as a primary architect of the United States nuclear disarmament strategy, and served as ambassador and chief negotiator of the SALT II Treaty. You served under 6 presidents and were involved in virtually every major arms control treaty of the 20th century, including SALT I and SALT II, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Chemical Weapons Convention, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, and the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty. You entered Deerfield in the fall of 1943 and became actively involved in the life of the school as managing editor of the Pocumtuck, serving on the Scroll editorial board, being a member of the Cum Laude Society, the senior council, and playing both varsity squash and tennis. After Deerfield, you graduated from Harvard College in 1950. You inherited your desire to serve your fellow citizens from your father, who had been governor of Pennsylvania and U.S. minister to both Austria and Bulgaria. From 1950 to 1952, you served in the U.S. Army as a second and first lieutenant in the Corps of Engineers and Counterintelligence Corps. Following the Army, you attended Harvard Law School, graduated in 1955, then spent a year as law clerk to Judge Bailey Aldrich of the U.S. District Court for Massachusetts, before going on to become a partner in the Philadelphia law firm Morgan, Lewis & Brookes. In 1968, you renewed your civilian government service as Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs. From 1969 to 1972, you served as a defense advisor at the U.S. mission to NATO, where you led discussions within the alliance on the issue of theater nuclear weapons. From 73 to 77, you served as Arms Control and Disarmament Agency representative on the U.S. Strategic Arms Limitation Talks delegation. Under President Jimmy Carter, you were designated as chairman of the U.S. delegation for the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks. You were responsible for all aspects of the U.S. negotiating strategy that led to the signing of the SALT II Treaty with the Soviet Union in 1979. From 1980 to 1981, you served as the director of the U.S. Arms Control and Disarmament Agency, where you were the principal advisor to the administration on all matters involving arms control and disarmament. Later, working as a partner in the law firm of Baker & Daniels, you served as the chairman of the board of directors of the Lawyers Alliance for World Security from 1981 to 1982. And then, in 1994, you returned to government service as a deputy director of the Arms Control and Disarmament Agency from 1994 to 1999. You formally retired in 1999, but you continued to represent the United States at the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons for 3 more years. Other noteworthy accomplishments include your membership in the Council of Foreign Relations, the International Institute for Strategic Studies, the Council of American Ambassadors, and the American Law Institute. You have served as a member of the boards of numerous business corporations and nonprofit organizations, including the Arms Control Association, the British Army American Security Information Council, and the Committee for National Security. You have authored numerous publications dealing with national security. Deerfield is so proud to number you among its alumni, and honored to present you with the 2009 Heritage Award. Please welcome Ambassador.